Hello and welcome to Jeremy's Yorkshire Allotment Adventures with a Bindweed Special. So sit back, relax, get yourself a cuppa and enjoy the Bindweed Special. Well, here I am at the end of quite a long day, but a beautiful day. The sun's been out, in fact it's still out. I've got the birds singing, I've got my robin here of course, and also great tit. In fact there's two great tits, one's quite close and the other's a bit further away. So hoping, you never know, they might become best of friends and have a little family. How exciting. They've been blasting their little hearts out, it's lovely to hear. Yes, so bindweed, you know I'll go on about it, but I thought I'd do a little special and pop it out there. Bindweed is a pernicious weed. It gets everywhere if you let it, and well, mine gets in because on the neighbouring allotments they don't seem to be bothered about it, and so I get it. And well, because I've put this in, I've dug from that end right through now to here. And what I thought I'd do today, I'm going to lower the path. So we've got a bit here, I'm not sure if you can see this, a bit here which has got a plastic ending. So I'm lowering the floor. So it's just a straight walk, and then the raised beds will be properly raised then. And what I've been doing, I've taken the soil out of here, stiffening it and putting it into the raised beds. So we're filling the raised beds nicely at the back, which is lovely. Why do I get on about bindweed and why is it so bad? Well, because if it gets near a plant, it can suffocate that plant. Not through the roots, but it literally will climb up the plant and a bit like a boa constrictor, eventually wrap itself around and literally suck the life out of it. And once it does that, once it gets hold, if you don't do something about it, then the plant will eventually die. But your lovely bindweed will survive. So, what do you do with it? How do you get rid of it? Well, some people think you can put a stake in the ground, say for example one of these, pop that in the ground, or even a bamboo cane. When you see it coming through the ground, your bindweed, stick it there, and it will send a runner out. Now bindweed is very, very clever, because what it does, not only does it go under the ground and it spreads a web under the ground. It doesn't go really deep, in about 30 inches or so, but that's fairly deep actually, isn't it? So it goes down and it makes a web underneath the ground. But what it's very clever at, so it's surviving underground, happily going along there, but then it sends runners out, or stolons. And those runners are very, very interesting things, because that is what finds. And I've got one here, and as you can see here, look, this is the root of the bindweed. In fact, that's the bindweed itself, and that's called a rhizome. And that is very, very clever, because this is very brittle. And if you knock it or cut it, it just instantly snaps. And that bit there, in fact, if I just even take a little bit off at the end, a very small bit, that's so clever that will regrow a new plant from just that little bit. So you've got to be really careful when you're taking it out. And so you have that, but then it sends out these stolons. There you go, that's 1, 2, 3. Look at those in length. Now they go across the top of the soil. They're literally runners across the top of the soil. And when they find, for example, a shrub or a tree or a plant, they stop. And then they wind themselves around the bottom of the plant. But then what's clever is, it works out then that that's where it needs to be. So it starts to grow the plant, and it sends lots and lots of shoots up that plant, establishes itself, and then eventually the leaves will appear, and those beautiful trumpet-shaped flowers, the white flowers, they are absolutely gorgeous flowers. But once that's established, it's really enjoying itself. It will then start to grow more and more of these shoots around the base and send them up. Now, of course, you can rip them off the plant. The problem is you're ripping the plant as well. So if you pull at those, you're not doing much good. You won't get rid of it. It will just keep coming back and back and back until it's destroyed. The plant or the shrub or the tree, whatever it's got its tentacles round, it will grow. So how do you get rid of it? What do you do? I'm being really methodical here, because I was talking about people let it grow up there and then they spray unorganic, of course, weed killer on it, thinking they've got it. But actually what it will do is it might kill 1 or 2 leaves off, but it won't get rid of the roots. It doesn't go down deeper. It's very clever stuff. And so you really have to dig down, back-breaking work I know, and get rid of it. This is all that I've got out of the bank so far. And I've only done probably 2 foot actually, and it's come out. It's come out pretty easy actually, because what I did eventually, when I first put that banking in, I put lots of lovely compost in there, and in the hope of making a second raised bed, because that was the raised bed inside the greenhouse that was here, the frame. In fact, this frame, before I moved it over there, and I've moved it back again. However, there was a frame there. It was just covered with netting, and so that was there, raised bed. It's really got into it, and it's sending lots of these out shoots. In fact, you would like to see a photograph. Here's a photograph of it in the ground. So you have to be really methodical. Now, how, once you've got it out the ground like I have here, what do you do with it? Well, there's 2 ways of doing it. Get it in a plastic bag, get it in your green waste that goes to your local council, and they will compost it. And because it's composted at such a high rate of heat, it kills it off. You can't really generate that heat in your own compost at home. You can try and have a go. The other way of doing it, get this, bung it in a bucket of water or in some sort of vessel with lots of water in it, and leave it. Leave it to die, because eventually it will die. Now, what you can utilise then, you drain that off once it's dead and it's mould and it's rotten down. You can use the water on your compost. The nutrients from this will go into your compost. So there's a saving grace. Once you've got all this, you can utilise it, but do not, whatever you do, put it on your compost heap, because it will absolutely love it. And within 6 months or so, it will have new roots. You won't be able to get it out. What is also very clever about it is it will find its way through obstacles. Here's a piece of wood I got out the ground, and look what it's done. Obviously some sort of nail hole at some point, I would have thought, a screw hole, and it's gone through that. And this is what also happens when it's got the roots of a particular plant. I used to have a bush here, a lemongrass actually, and it's still surviving. Amazing thing actually. Sorry, not lemongrass, lemon balm. Beautiful plant, smells gorgeous. However, obviously, because I want to make it a lower path now through, I've had to move it. I pulled it up, turned it over, and the roots had lots and lots of bindweed that came up through the roots. So what I'm having to do was to try and shake all of the soil off it before I replant it somewhere else, and get as much of the bindweed out of that as I can before I put it somewhere else. Because obviously if it's got bindweed in and I transplant it somewhere else, it will just regrow. So yes, bindweed. Your best bet is to back break in, dig it out as deep as you can go and as methodical as you can go. And if you can get a little sieve it, and so you catch all the little pieces, and then you can keep an eye on a particular area. The compost I've moved into my planter at the back, it's been sifted. I've also gone through it by hand. I will go through it again. But the beauty of that is, I suppose, if a shoot comes through, it's such loose soil now, I shall have to go in and take it out. So even if it does regrow over the next few months, over the next year, I can take anything out of there that grows, because as we know, it doesn't go too deep. So I hope you enjoyed the little special on bindweed. You know I'm going about it all the time, but it is horrible, horrible stuff. And it's only through really having a go at it. What you can do if you've got lots of it as well, as soon as you see a shoot come through the ground, take it off at the ground, cut it back to the ground, because eventually it'll keep shooting, but then it'll give up, because it hasn't got the energy to keep forcing out. Then if it won't grow there, then you'll find it and catch it. Yeah, once again, thank you very much for watching Jeremy's Yorkshire Allotment Adventures, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra for now.